I've softened to your question on this notion of a third Trump term because time of life and state of mind. I tried to get her on my podcast.
Really,
Marjorie,
you did?
Come on my podcast.
You want Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yeah.
So
this is a masterclass in effing something up, Trump. I mean, this is next level stuff.
Are you aware of his wife's podcast? Katie Miller's got a podcast?
I'm aware. I've seen a few appearances on the cable networks.
What's happening, brother? I know. As we were doing outfits last time, I was. All the best. What's going on? How you doing?
Good.
It's good to see you.
What the heck? Look at this.
It's an important.
Gorgeous.
I was gonna say this is like a piece of real estate that a couple of people have been maybe batting around the idea of you talking about. That they kind of
Where's my east wing? There it is.
They kind of screwed that up a little bit. But obviously you're in DC, creating the contrast very clearly between the work y'all are doing out in California, talking about fighting to protect democracy, environmental justice, actually working on affordability, not calling it a scam. That runs pretty much in contrast to everything that's happening here. There's a lot that we got to talk about. There's some Jesse Waters has some thoughts for you. There's some Stephen Miller, some Carolyn Levin. We got Pete Hegseth, but I just kind of want to ask, do you like the shadow president thing that's kind of being, that title bestowed on you? You were just at COP30. People were like, do we need that right now? Or do you think that's important just for the sake of the contrast?
It's nice to be able to fill the void, particularly down in Bel Am at COP30. By the way, thousands of folks from China, tens of thousands of folks from around the rest of the world, not one representative from this administration at one of the most important climate conferences in the world. So an example of an opportunity and a responsibility for people like myself that have this privilege in these positions to assert ourselves in a much more aggressive manner.
Well, we got a lot to talk about. We're not going to do it all out in the cold. It's going to be a little bit difficult to not think about that thing when we're having the conversation. I don't want to get all into it right away, but there's a lot we got to talk about. I got you right here. We got a lot to get in.
60 minutes.
We've elevated. It's independent media, but it's still doing our best.
This is not independent anymore. This is like a.
I'll give you your mic.
I think Jesse Waters might see some of this. He had thoughts on your posture. Did you see Jesse Waters? He's like, you're not a real man. I love sitting like this all the time.
So someone just told me. By the way, so interesting that your legs. I said those were the seats were so low that I literally tried like this.
How tall is Jesse Waters? You think?
I have no idea.
Doesn't seem like he really commands a lot.
But it's no. Well, you want to talk to Jesse? We'll talk to Jesse.
we'll get him on the phone.
I have a lawsuit with Jesse. Jesse's $787 million defamation lawsuit with Jesse Waters.
Isn't it funny that still that doesn't get enough attention? Like, what is like the equivalent in any other, what would you call like traditionally center left, progressive liberal media with $787 million in a defamation lawsuit, yet they still want to talk shit? It's very weird.
Yeah. No, and we're happy to battle it out in court. You know, the irony is, in the court of public opinion, I told him, look, we'll drop the lawsuit if you just apologize. You lied. You knowingly lied. You not only misled people, you knowingly hid facts, and just apologize. We'll walk away. We're good. That's fine, but you got to give it as much weight as you gave the original lie, which traveled around the world. But no, it's about a little more accountability. There's no accountability over there, as you know.
They don't do really a great job with that. Caleb, just let me know when we got the all clear on things.
30 seconds.
Getting rolling. It's always a setup.
You guys look amazing.
Well, now I got to watch my goddamn legs. Jesus Christ.
Because it's going to become an issue of national security.
Yeah, I know.
I would say that it goes, how your posture is, war crimes, and then I think it would just be a little bit.
How's he using his hands?
In terms of what's important. Actually, I would say that was my favorite response to the last interview that we did. Someone said, thank God Newsom's team was able to find someone who gesticulates so wildly and is as big in the way that he talks. And I was like, all right, I actually kind of take that as a compliment if I'm like throwing the hands around and we're kind of going back and forth with a little bit of the.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm Italian at heart, even though I'm Irish. I think it's important to.
We're allowed to emphasize it
physiologically.
There's a lot we have to emphasize today. Again, I want to start with the purpose of you being here in DC, which is not just to show a little bit of that contrast, but Donald Trump. I think this might be the first time ever he's breaking a promise. Recovery, relief, it was promised when you were on the tarmac with him. LAX, he said, we will be helping you out. That's not happening. Yeah. There is so much. There's so many broken promises. There's so much we got to talk about. But what is the importance of you being in DC today? Again, kind of filling that void.
Well, just we're not giving up. We're coming back to continue to make the point that we have the backs of Americans that happen to be living in California that were torn asunder because of one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history. And I'll remind people, in the middle of winter, we had 100-mile-an-hour winds attached to a fire, and tens of thousands of residential units, commercial, industrial units were lost. And we're now in a recovery phase. We actually have some of the first units that are fully back online, which is remarkable within a calendar year. But tens of thousands of people still wait support and relief. And we wait for a response from the administration. Here's what's remarkable. Came out to Washington, D.C., have met in a bipartisan manner with United States senators from both parties, which has been amazing. FEMA refuses even to have a staffer meet with the governor of the governor's office to talk about relief for the American people. We would have the backs within a nanosecond of the people in North Carolina, the folks that were torn asunder in the floods in Texas. But the politics, the rank politics, is the likes of which we've never experienced in U.S. history.
So strange for Mike Johnson in his state of Louisiana to be the person who was initially playing politics with all of this.
I couldn't be more proud on behalf of my state to have had his back in his district of Louisiana and not even think twice about the fact that he voted a different way or represents a different point of view. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the universality of the human condition and people struggling and suffering, that's just, there's no room for politics. And again, it's the spirit to which I went to see the president on the tarmac. It's the spirit to which I went back to the Oval Office. It was right there. I think it was the first governor, Democratic governor, after he got elected again, to visit with him. It was 3 hours in the White House, 90 minutes in the Oval Office on this topic, among others. And it's an open hand, not a closed fist. But right now, they have no interest in engaging.
Well, that's kind of, and you said this about the business leaders who were doing the capitulation, doing the but can you tell me about the with the knee pads?
Well, I know. It's just we have a Patriot site in the spirit of where we are. I encourage folks to go to our Patriot site. We have new signature series Trump knee pads. Mm-hmm. For those, the first were sold out.
I heard they were sold out. Yeah.
They were legitimately sold out, just as our universities sold out, as our law firms sold out, as many corporate leaders have sold out, and business interests and universities continue to be challenged in that respect. So look, I do it for a little parody, but I also do it with intensity and purpose, and that is to express my disdain. I mean, we will have a country that's simply unrecognizable if people don't have the courage of their convictions and stand up. It's not good enough to say one thing in private and to do another in public. I thought it was a total embarrassment today. Even FIFA came up with this Peace Prize.
Did you see the building they renamed after him too?
Yeah.
It's the Donald J. Trump Peace Institute.
This is embarrassing. But it's like, how humiliating for that organization that they did that. How humiliating is for foreign leaders to give the President of the United States a crown. Is that a metaphor? Is it a prophecy? How embarrassing it is to watch some of those powerful people in the world, the most well-connected and wealthy, sell out because of Donald Trump and sell our country out in return. And so I'm just calling that out. And again, it doesn't make me popular. It's not trust me, a popularity contest. I love FIFA, by the way. I'm not trying to offend, and I'm grateful they're coming to our state. It's not the point, but their state of mind that they feel they have to do that to our dear leader. Yeah. For this regime. In the United States of America, we're supposed to represent something better.
It's embarrassing to see them to do that. Like, people talk about the fuck you money, and none of these guys want to say fuck you. They want to come in, they capitulate.
You got it, man.
And it's interesting that they're doing the we'll bring you a crown, or we'll give you the little gold statue or whatever. It's always gold with him. But then you kind of think, and I want to kind of get into a broader conversation about accountability, because I think it's something on all of our minds right now with Pete Hegseth out committing war crimes and thinking he can just get away with that. Yeah. But you told those business leaders, stop capitulating to Trump. But on the other hand, you clearly see that they are understanding of the power that office has.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't think that we've maybe fully realized that sometimes. And in an effort to kind of overcorrect the breaking of their norms, we have centered ourselves maybe sometimes too much in them to a point that we don't fully balance things out, right? You did the opposite with redistricting, right? You didn't say oh, they're breaking the norms. Well, we really want to respect with these. You said, no, fuck that. We're going to use our power. Of course, you went to the people to do it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to someone like a Pete Hegseth, who's a war criminal, someone like a Kristi Noem, defying court orders, Stephen Miller's in the same camp. What do you think of accountability needs to look like down the road for these people? And what does that conversation need to sound like? And how much of our focus should be on it?
Well, I love the question, and I think it's, in many respects, the conversation we're starting to have as we move now, turn the page in January to the 250th anniversary of this historic project of our founding fathers, the Ken Burns documentary that sort of reignited this conversation, a deep understanding of who we are, what we're aspiring to be, in this notion of co-equal branches of government, the best of Greek democracy, Roman Republic, all that being tested and stressed. But the one thing that wasn't tested or stressed necessarily explicitly in those founding documents, this notion of character. And the deviation, the normalization of the deviancy, the lack of character coming from so many of the people you just mentioned, from the president himself, from the Oval Office, is something that's testing everything and is pushing out the boundaries of all of those constraints that our founding fathers tried to establish and advance. And so I think for all of us, we have to reconcile that and have to meet this moment differently than we have in the past. It's not good enough to win an argument anymore. These guys, we're trying to still debate something. These guys are consolidating power. We'll have a country that's unrecognizable. So this notion about accountability, this notion about co-equal branches of government, this notion of popular sovereignty are very precious. And so our approach in terms of what we did with Prop 50, that was our mindset. We said, we're gonna fight fire with fire. We're not going to moralize this. We're not going to write an op-ed. We're not going to talk about the way the world should be. We're not going to say it's just unfair.
Yeah.
We have agency. We can shape the future. And I think, long-windedly, that's the point. We have agency.
Yeah.
We can shape the future. We're not victims to this as long as we stand up and for something. And that's what I'm telling all of these leaders. Get off your knees and stand up and fight for something.
And to put a finer point on that before we get into Prop 50, because there's a lot to talk about there, and we need a little positivity in our lives. Do you think the accountability, these people only really seem to respond to fear from Trump, right? They are willing to do what the dear leader says. Do you think it takes saying something like Pete Hegseth should be prosecuted for these war crimes? So we expect accountability for the Stephen Millers, for the Kristi Noems coming out of this administration. Do you think that's something that Democrats need to be saying right now?
Yeah, it's about the rule of law, not the rule of dawn. It's not about the law of the jungle. I mean, and that's what we're submitting to here. It's the, and I, look, I believe in due process. That's the difference. These guys don't.
Sure.
It's ready, fire, aim, as opposed to ready, aim, fire, literally, not figuratively, in the context of Hegseth and some of the accusations that have been made there. So we believe in due process, and we believe in that right and that frame and reference. But absolutely, it's all about it. It should all be about accountability. Man, no one's above the law.
Yeah.
It's no thrones, no crowns, no kings. Yeah. Look at the grievances, the 27 grievances that were in the Declaration of Independence. Read the grievances that many of us are asserting today. 249 years ago, a lot of similarities, my brother. And so I'm just saying this with love and respect. I hope people understand that we need to respect, I think, a little bit of our history, our proud past, at peril that history will not continue, and we will be rewriting a history in a dark chapter that no longer represents the best of the founding fathers.
To break out of that, do you think that, I think about Merrick Garland, right? And I think that Merrick Garland kind of being too aware of his office and too aware of not wanting to politicize.
Some timidity there.
Put Donald Trump in the position to continue out his authoritarian project, to expand his criminality. You know, you talk about a lot about the reverence you have for that office over there. Do you think we can ever get to a point where maybe we kind of think about that office too much, or do you think that in this moment it requires us to be thinking about those norms or breaking them again, kind of in the way that you did with Prop 50?
I think what Prop 50 represented was a very different consciousness. It's not the office of the presidency; it was the office of citizen. Active, not inert citizenship. Back to this notion of having agency. We, the people, can shape the future. This notion that Justice Brandeis, speaking of one of the greats, said it better than anyone else. In a democracy, the most important office is office of citizen. And I think that's the thing that fills me with just wellness and confidence. To see 7 million people show up at the No Kings rally, to see these unprecedented numbers of people showing up for new governors, new leaders, new members of different administrations from Bucks County or Georgia, what happened with that 13-point swing as it relates to the Tennessee race, fills me with a sense of well-being and optimism, that there's something much more powerful than the people that are situationally, and that's the key, situationally living in the building behind us.
And you've proved out with Prop 50, and Jake Tapper even admitted to you that he was a little doubtful at first.
Yeah.
What was that first poll that came out?
We were,
and it wasn't where it ended. That's like
no, we were underwater. We weren't close to 50%.
People were doubting it.
And we got to 52%. And I'll be candid with you, it was one of those push polls where you kind of were asking leaning questions. And that was the decision point. We only had a few days to make the decision.
And you've just, again, kind of made the point, like people want fighters right now, and a different type of candidate and a different type of idea and a different type of fight can win. At the same time, you were able to create this groundswell. I think the fundraising numbers of just people all
ridiculous.
across was crazy, and it just showed just how energized the Democratic base is right now. This is not a period of time going into the midterms where endorsements and Senate and House leadership are going to be picking candidates and picking ideas. If that was the case, we would have got a strongly worded letter and not 5 more seats picked up because the people in California and yourself.
Well said.
But part of that has to do a lot with fundraising and who people think is shaping our politics, especially as Democrats. A little bit ago, you did an interview, Higher Learning, and the question of AIPAC came up.
Oh, yeah.
And like it wasn't really necessarily a question of AIPAC.
It was just a random, I hadn't thought about AIPAC, which I've never received any money from AIPAC. And I was sort of curious.
Kind of raised. AIPAC, DMFI, the Israel lobby at large. This has become a big conversation.
Yeah, I know
and,
that.
And someone like myself, and I think at this point, a broad majority of Democrats are saying, we don't want candidates who are taking money from AIPAC.
Yeah.
We don't want candidates who are beholden to the Israel lobby.
Right.
When you look at what you were able to accomplish with the groundswell of support financially from people who said, I want to back this. I want to back fighters. I want to back people who are independent of an establishment. How do you think about AIPAC now? And maybe someone like Seth Moulton who said, I want to return this money. I'm not taking it anymore. Yeah. How do you think that AIPAC should be involved or shouldn't be involved?
Well, they've never been involved with me. I've never received $1 from them in my entire political career. So that's sort of absolute. So I've had an opinion on that going back decades now. But look, as it relates to money in this context and the larger point you were making, what's so interesting to me, and it goes to how we started this, it was the appalling number of people that wanted to support Prop 50, but then found out they'd be disclosed. They didn't do it for the same reason these CEOs are doing what they're doing. The same reason the head of FIFA just did what he did. Yeah. Because they're so scared to death of retribution from this White House. And so what changed the dynamic, the reason we were able to raise in 90 days, almost $120 million, was the small dollar donations distributed all across the United States of America. And let me give you a proof point, 1.2 million contributions. $38 million in a matter of weeks. I had to do 2 videos, not one. I said, please stop giving us money, because we were actually going to run a surplus. We had no place to spend it. And people then sent another $250,000. I said,
it's you and Zorana, the only people have I ever heard say, don't give us money anymore. I'm tapped out, I'm good.
I'll never do this again. And then the next day I did it again because I said, you didn't listen to me. You literally just send it someplace else. And by the way, we're blessed because now I have literally millions of dollars to help other candidates across the country in the surplus because of the Prop 50 cut. But what it did is, look, it was a grassroots effort that wasn't just dollar. We weren't just blessed with the resources dollar-wise, but we were blessed with the resourcefulness of a grassroots of volunteers, of activists, of influencers, of folks like yourselves. No, seriously, that really galvanize people and organize people in a self-organizing manner, meaning it wasn't top-down. It was bottom up. It was honest. It was in the spirit. I remember mybarackobama.com, right? All these self-organizing communities coming together.
I was a little younger.
You don't even remember that. You have to Google that. If you use Google anymore, I know it's AI, but it may be Gemini. But my point being that it was organic. Yeah. And that's at the end of the day, it's what it's about. None of us want to be wholly owned subsidiaries of anybody.
No.
And I think, that's the present, not just the future. Others have understood that's what movements are made. That's where progress is actually
I think
achieved.
you've kind of proved out specifically with your fight, and I want to talk about a lot of different versions of that fight, a lot of which you're still doing on social media, a lot of fun that we've been having over there. Yeah. But it's that fight that people get behind with you when they say, like, yeah, you don't have to be backed by, like, we have your back if you're going to be in this fight because we've been waiting for that. And obviously there's still a lot I want to talk about, but with the White House behind us, it is a little difficult.
Where'd that East room go? Where did the East room go?
It's the elephant outside of the room.
Jesus.
When you're thinking
Wrecking ball
about
presidency. Sorry.
when you're thinking about your future and maybe the possibility of that.
Becoming a page across the way.
That piece of real estate.
Is there an age limit on becoming a page?
Is that the job that you might be considering?
I don't know. I've got a lot of resume I got to consider.
Maybe
I could ChatGPT will help me.
You and I
haven't
can
drafted
do it
a resume
together.
in a while.
We can do a buddy.
When was the last time you did a resume? Tell me the truth. When was the
last time I did a resume?
Yeah.
I was probably writing something up for someone on your team to make sure that I could get this interview. No, I'm joking. You're getting that. No, but seriously, when you're thinking about that and you're thinking about, and people just have this question because it's what they want to hear from our leadership. When you're thinking about who might be giving to support you and who might be behind you, is corporate money.
Yeah,
kind of get behind you. Is that APAC money?
Yeah.
Get behind you.
Yeah.
Where is this in your head right now? I know you're thinking you got to get these midterms through.
No, but it's always. Look, I've been at this a long time. I come from a private sector background, small businesses, sort of an entrepreneurial background, and I got into politics by the way of a remarkable leader, Willie Brown, who appointed me to the Parking and Traffic Commission. 20-something years old, and I'm the president of the Parking and Traffic Commission in San Francisco. And then I had my first election for Board of Supervisors, and that became a real issue. We had $500 limits, but people were still outraged. It was $500 from a particular union or the Chamber of Commerce. Which one are you? Are you a chamber corporate Democrat, or are you a union Democrat? Are you a big union Democrat, or are you a union, socialist union Democrat? And so it's always marked those moments of consciousness. And I've tried to do my best to always govern in the best interest of people, to represent the diversity of constituencies in my district, my state, and more broadly. But I will always be a present there. I don't take, tobacco money, oil money. I've never taken APEC money. There's certain absolutes that are the lines that have been drawn for decades for me, and those will continue. And to the extent they need to evolve because of the devolution of certain interests, and we're experiencing that in real time along the lines of what we've been talking, perhaps that will even grow. But the small dollar is become just the lifeblood for me of movement politics. And I'll tell you, I've never been blessed in that space the way I've been blessed since my recall, and with the work we've done in the last 6 or 7 years that led to Prop 50. And we have one of the biggest databases in America that allow me the privilege, what a gift, to be able to not to worry about those larger checks.
And to be able to support other folks.
Yes,
and that's kind of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
There is some, and much deserved consternation within where the party's going right now with what we're moving forward on. But we are unified in a way that Republicans are certainly not, right? We are seeing Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation, which actually, I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene, because I want to talk about J.D. Vance and his attempt to maybe try to hold this all together for himself.
I tried to get her on my podcast.
Really,
Marjorie,
you did?
Come on my podcast.
You want Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yeah,
so my question
I'm
is,
interested now.
do you think she's like, is this a change?
Do
you think this is a political?
This is the question. This is why I want to get her on the podcast. I want to have this question. You were asking the wrong person. We need to get her on your podcast.
Should we do the three of us? Marjorie, we're going to do a three. We're going to do a three-person.
We want to break this down because, look,
do you think you should
I don't know. Do you extend? Look, I think you always have to appreciate when people come to your point of view, however they got there.
I appreciate that you said your point of view, because she did come to our point of view. Let's be real.
She now is sounding more rational from our perspective. However she got there is how circular it might have been and how long it may have taken. I think about that. I'll be honest with you. When I did same-sex marriage back in the black and white movie days, but 2004, I married 4,036 same-sex couples in this winter of love, they called it, not summer, winter of love, in February of 2004 in San Francisco. 4,036 couples for 46 states in 6 countries. And the overwhelming majority of the Democratic Party opposed that. They were still debating civil unions. And I was having a debate about right versus wrong, but I also, I had to start tempering myself and being a little less judgmental. Because, I was sort of indicting them for saying somehow separate is equal civil unions. And it's over time, my own maturity on it is giving people grace to take the time to eventually come along and agree with that point of view.
That's
and by the way,
your head has been out with the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I think about that with, a lot of the leaders we admire the most, folks that have been occupants of the White House, Democrats, they were opposed vehemently, publicly. When I did that, they were not supportive of it, but they eventually got there. And so however you get there, I'm just glad you're finally there. And so from my perspective, yeah, I want to stress test where she is, and is this tactical, is this real? But I'm glad she's there on Donald Trump at least.
We'll see if we can get her on. Someone who is certainly not really changing. Actually, I would say someone who is constantly changing, but not changing for better. J.D. Vance, in my mind, he's in full-blown panic mode, right? Like he is seeing.
But he is constantly changing. What you just said is important.
He's
Isn't it
chameleon.
amazing? Unbelievable.
We talked about the last time the fat face.
Oh my God.
Am I not allowed to have a little fun? You're the commander of trolling over here. I'm not allowed to talk about Jay.
No,
He's
you're
got a little
not.
bit of blood.
Wash your mouth out with soap. Or is that? Oh wait, they said that about me on Fox. Sorry.
Yeah, Jesse's gonna get on you again for this. We'll do a picture at the end when we're like this, and we'll say
is it the
directly
hands,
to Jesse
Jesse?
Waters.
Is it the leg? What is going to be next?
Not a very masculine guy.
It used to be the hair, but
both
I
him
don't know. He'll get back to that.
Both him and JD, they can't hold it down. Vance. Do you think he's going to be able to? Is he the guy to hold this together? Like, I think
there is no
fractures
Trumpism without Trump. It's a cult of personality. Rubio can't keep it together. Vance can't keep it together. Period. It's not an ideology. I mean, so no, it's about Trump. It's a great grift. That's all this is about. It's the great grift. I mean, the level of corruption, the crony capitalism, the state capitalism, that's what this is about. They can't operate at that level like Trump. They'll assert, they'll attempt to perhaps, but they cannot keep this coalition together. And you've seen it fraying everywhere on the Fuentes side of things, the Tucker side of things, where Shapiro's now emerging, how they're losing a lot of the podcasters. I mean, this thing is, you're seeing it corrode everywhere, and there's no capacity for any of these other people to hold that together, in my mind and estimation.
What issue do you think is going to be the most damaging for him a couple of years from now? Do you
J.D.
think it's going to be Epstein cover-up? Do you think it's going to be just a complete disregard for affordability? Do you think it's going to be being part of this criminal cabal? What do you think is going to be most damaging? What's going to be holding him down? Yes.
Yeah, no, I think it's some total of all of it. It's just the rank corruption, the corrosion of norms and institutions, the attack on independent thinking. I think everything that has one thing in common is the assault on institutions of independent thinking, the absolute assault on the integrity of institutions that have helped, bear witness to the greatest middle class in the world, and one of the most extraordinary experiments in democracy that mankind has ever known. And so, no, I think it's all of the above, and it's the sum total. He has a remarkable capacity of digging out and create the next controversy. I mean, the idea that we're not talking more about President Hernandez and the pardon of one of the great drug dealers and drug runners, and that impacted more lives in more ways on more days in the United States of America. At the same time, we're saying it's all about fentanyl, or at least about cocaine interdiction, in terms of these assaults on the rule of law and on the lives of these folks that are out there with no due process running drugs, allegedly. It's absurd, the whole thing. But you don't even have an hour to stand witness to one conversation debate, because he immediately moves the needle to the next. And so what my effort in terms of what I'm trying to do is put a mirror up to that and try to continue to come back on all these things. That's why the Patriot site. That's why that Patriot site's not just about knee pads, about many other things. It's about the grift. It's about the corruption. I thought about a meme coin, but actually I was worried that people would actually be fleeced. Yeah, I was like, I couldn't honestly figure out how to do it.
I did hear you say that. And I was like, we might have hit the point. We might have hit the
I was
roof
like,
gap.
Jesus, no, the people actually would be damaged by it. But I've Newsom 2026 hats for my reelect that I can't run for. I should have. Or Newsom was right about everything.
No, I'm fucking with you. I didn't get merch.
The point, so I'm doing the merch shop. But the whole idea that he's got a merch shop, the idea that he's selling perfume.
Out of the White
What
House.
does it smell like? It smells like success. I mean, it's just, he's a man-child. I'm going to see Governor Walz tonight. He called him the R word. He called someone piggy. This is not normal. It can't be allowed to be normalized. And so we have to put that mirror up. We have to be more aggressive. We have to be more clear. And we have to be at times willing to offend, dare I say. And I think politics has changed. We have to change, period. The traditional political engagement, it's over. Wake up, everybody. The rules have changed. We need to change.
Well, that's why you have certainly been uber active on social media, but I think sometimes we see the Gavin Newsom press office and their thoughts on certain individuals.
Yeah.
And you're a busy guy. It's not always all the time.
I have a kill switch, though. Sometimes I'm too busy to see something that did go out, and I'm like,
ooh, did we?
Do you have bail money for me?
Well, hopefully these are okay, but I want to get your thoughts on some of these people that you've been posting about. You did a happy birthday for Voldemort, Stephen Miller. Are you aware of his, you asked if Marjorie Taylor Greene would come on, are you aware of his wife's podcast? Katie Miller's got a podcast?
I'm aware. I've seen a few appearances on the cable networks of
what are your
said
thoughts
wife.
on? You got thoughts on Stephen? What are your thoughts on Katie Miller's performance so far?
I'm going to withhold that and focus my energies on Stephen.
So
respect
unimpressed
to the family, unimpressed.
Well,
yes.
do you think that we need to have respect for someone who's going out there and spewing the same bile as Stephen Miller?
I still have a lot more energy that I need to put behind my strong opinions of Stephen Miller. I'm going to save most of that for him.
What's your strongest opinion on Stephen Miller right now? Like if I say Stephen Miller, the first thing you think is
he's about cruelty and chaos. Yeah. I think there's a cruelty to him. I really do. And I don't say that honestly about a lot of people.
Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I don't want to. I don't know him, so I can't analyze him except from afar. Quite literally, people are disappearing.
Yeah.
The screams, you can't unhear what you hear or see in these videos of moms that are losing family members. Those screams are real. I was with a 16-year-old kid who couldn't even look me in the eye because his mom and dad disappeared, going to the same job they went to for 20 years at a vegetable packing place in Ventura County. That's Stephen Miller. That cruelty is, I feel that, man. And I'm telling you, put a 15-year-old boy, disabled boy, in Los Angeles, waiting for his sister to walk across the street from school, and Border Patrol put a gun to the head of that young child. That's Stephen Miller. So spare me any niceties with respect to this guy.
Yeah.
I have nothing good to say about him, period. I don't know what his motivations are, but the one thing all his actions have in common is cruelty.
Cruelty and lies, which is exactly what this individual, Carolyn Levitt, who we've had some fun with some
Caroline
Levitt.
If you read,
do you do
yes.
Trump's? I know you did the tweets go out. Do you have an impression? Have you?
I'm not good at trying. I have some other decent impressions.
Who do you
but
have? Who's in the
I don't
arsenal?
know. I tried the. I mean, Arnold and I had it out a little bit with Prop 50. So I had
Arnold and Melania sound a lot alike.
I have to be careful. See, I don't want to create.
Oh, we
any
can't
more.
do spouses.
I got enough problems in my life.
I'm not
right
going.
now.
I'm not going to get you upset
more.
with.
We already invited Jesse onto this podcast.
And he's not. And
Hey,
he's
Jesse.
not. He's not going to make it happen. Would you have Caroline on? What would you want to say to her? Like if you just had to look directly at
I'd
Caroline
have all
Levitt,
these
what would
guys
your
look.
first
I
thing
mean,
would be
as
to
you
say?
know, we've had Bannon on, and we had Sean Spicer in the spirit of Caroline. Though Sean was very gracious, I enjoyed it. And, as was Bannon, interestingly. I had Michael Savage, who was the original MAGA. Borders, borders, language, culture was his mantra back when he was up there with Rush Limbaugh as one of the biggest right-wing radio.
Breaking with Trump though right now.
Yeah, which is interesting on a lot of levels. And he is an interesting guy for immigration reform and addressing those that have been here 10, 20 years with some grace as well. So even people like Michael, who've been at this for years and years, are moving away. So look, this movement is, and by the way, that reinforces your previous point. This thing's fraying all around. It's not just the low public opinion poll. And by the way, Trump doesn't really give a damn where his opinion polls are. He cares about where he is with the MAGA movement in his base and where he is with Sean Hannity.
Which is
and Laura
really
Ingraham.
what's fracturing right now.
Yeah.
Interesting enough. And I think the kind of phrase that's been tossed around that was maybe the original idea of Trump, and nothing that was purported to be Trump has ever came to be Trump, except all the bad shit, but was this idea of like, I think it is resonating with people. And I want to take it out of the context of the guy who espouses it the most. I'm putting a lot of but-ums around this. But the idea of being America first, right, is something that maybe Trump purported to be with his faux populism. It's something that MAGA claims, maybe they, but they don't.
Yeah.
Do you think there's of course we understand our role around the world.
He's selling his country out everywhere.
But do you think there is a role for that kind of thinking as Donald Trump does sell us out, right, in exchange for, the Saudis or Qatar or sending a plane or giving some money to the crypto coin?
What's really interesting about, and forgive me going back, and we can go and we can cast aspersion and attack Steve Bannon on January 6th and all these things. All that's table stake. It's well established. What's so interesting about Bannon in relationship to the MAGA movement is where a lot of that friction lies in, I think, a more rational sincerity around worker-centered industrial policy to reinvest in the heartland and reinvest in factories and industries, in communities that have been completely torn asunder because of the WTO and NAFTA, where both parties were complicit. And we weren't focusing on America, quote unquote, first in that respect. A progressive tax policy that he argued for, where he wanted to see increase in corporate taxes, increase the tax on the richest 1%, as opposed to what the big, beautiful betrayal did in the bill. And so I think in that respect, that's very much aligned with aspects of where Bernie Sanders is and the populism and that side. And I think that's not an unhealthy place. It's just how do you place policy around that? How do you wrap it around that doesn't include a Trump Tower in the Gulf states, that doesn't include a golf course in Vietnam, that doesn't include a crypto deal in Pakistan, or doesn't include a pardon with the head of Binance and $2 billion into world liberty, that doesn't include members of your cabinet being part of that grift, or doesn't include your own son who's in partnership with Chamash, who's a partner in All In Podcast with David Sachs, who's the AI czar and the crypto czar, doing announcements on AI executive policy at an All In paid for podcast where people are making money. How do you do all of these things?
I want to end that with
the grift.
What the fuck? Right, when you hear that all in a row.
And by the way, we could spend another 20 minutes. We haven't. I mean, I'm not.
We haven't even touched on AI. We haven't touched on the data centers. We haven't touched on.
None of
well,
that.
I wanted to hit you with some rapid fire real quick. But first, before we get to the rapid fire,
let's do it.
You mentioned that progressive
Is this
tax
like boxers or briefs or something?
Well,
is it? See, they're good. You don't remember those days.
Why are you bringing it up?
No,
do you want to answer the question?
Those were the days.
There's an audience that would love to hear you answer that question.
It was like MTV was the place to be, and Clinton went out there with a saxophone, and that was those are the questions the American people wanted to know. It's changed now.
But we've moved a little bit. But you brought up that progressive tax policy. You saw some pushback on you saying that not in favor of a wealth tax. State wealth tax.
Yeah, you got to compete with other states. The
Does that
ability
change
to bleed.
the federal level?
I think I was a long conversation I had with Ezra Klein. I just did 2.5 hours in his podcast about that being a different framework, a different debate. But when you're competing state by state, and we've seen this, you've seen it in New York. I mean, it's not illegitimate that people have the ability to simply move, particularly with the 6-month base, and move their corporate headquarters, move their corporate capital gains, et cetera. So you have to be, I'm telling you, I live this as a practitioner, you have to be sensitive to that from a competitiveness perspective. That said, I have the most progressive tax state that I have governed and argued in favor for in the United States versus the most regressive like Florida and Texas that I've argued against. So that's the approach that I'm advocating as governor.
But federal level, that thinking changes
It's a different conversation. And look, I made this point at Deal Book with the New York Times with Sorkin a couple days ago. I reminded him that there was, I don't recall exactly what year, but Plutarch, who warned the Athenians that the oldest and most fatal ailment, this is 2,000 years ago, he's warning the Athenians, the oldest, he said, and most fatal ailments of all republics is the gap between the rich and poor, is income inequality. And that in the context now of AI, et cetera, this is now, it's no longer billionaires, it's trillionaires. This is not, and you have 20 states with $7.25 minimum wage. By the way, ours went up today to $16.90. I have $25 minimum wage for healthcare workers, $20 minimum wage for folks that are fast food workers. No state does that. So it's about growth and inclusion. That, I think, should be the approach of our party, and a progressive tax policy that I think the vast majority of the American people support.
I have one more thing on that before we get to rapid fire, because I know you're a busy guy. Zoran has talked about, and you and him have had a couple calls.
Yeah,
right?
we've had. Yeah, he's been very gracious getting back to me.
Do you think one day that
we'll
Trump
see
will
if
ever
he still
love
does
you
after he
as much
gets
as...
sworn in? You know, these guys get fancy. All these politicians,
busy.
They have people, and you can't get through. They change their cell phones.
Don't go doing that on me. I congratulate you on the Peace Prize. That was the last thing. But he's made sure we frame. We don't let like Democrats get framed the way Republicans do. When talking about raising taxes in New York to fund his expansive and very impactful plan, he said that it is a lie. It is a misnomer that people are leaving high tax states for low tax states. This is simply not happening. People are going from New York to California, New York to New Jersey. Jesse Waters pays the same amount. Like you're just lying about these things. Do you think that that's an idea that we have to attack?
No, I think I think it's wildly overstated, but it exists.
Yeah.
And that's where I would differ a little bit. I don't think this. I know this. It's not just anecdotal.
You live it.
We're living it. So I see it. Look, we have some very high-profile examples in California. Elon Musk, who took it's $3.2 billion in subsidies in California. The reason he's a multi-billionaire is because of California's regulatory policies on tailpipe emissions that created the market for electric vehicles in the first place, packed with $3.2 billion of taxpayer subsidies, direct and indirect. And he took all the capital gains and all the winnings to New York, or rather Texas, to avoid paying any state taxes. So again, that's just a proof point that needs to be emphasized as a consideration in all this. And so people, by the way, are talking about, is there an exit tax? I'm not arguing for or against it. It's just interesting that there's this energy in that space. But look, I think you have to be mindful that the world, California, I talk about all the time, the world we invented, this formula for success when it comes to the university systems, these conveyor belt for talents. In fact, we're the world's leading R&D investor. 18% of the world's R&D is in our state. By the way, I say world, we're number 3, literally. It's 22% in China, 21% in Germany. 18% of the world's R&D is in my state. All of these things are part of that formula for success, getting first-round draft choices from around the rest of the world, the best and the brightest in terms of legal immigration, the ability to have rules for risk-taking, not recklessness. All these things that, in many ways, California invented. Now that world's competing against us. Yeah. And so you have to be mindful of the competition between states and globally. And so I appreciate this American first mindset in that respect. Like, we have to be more competitive. Yep. And that's why one of the worst damn decisions this guy has ever made, and why Ronald Reagan, whose poster is right there in the Oval Office, looking down appropriately on Donald Trump, was selling you out and selling the next generation out on alternative fuel vehicles and rolling back, as he did just yesterday, the vehicle fuel standards. So you're going to pay more at the pump with worse technology, and China is going to clean our clock. Markets, supply chains, influence, they're flooding the zone with new technology, battery stacks, et cetera, and we are simply going to lose that economic race. It is not about electric power, it's about economic power. And so those are the kinds of things that infuriate me on behalf of my kids and grandkids and the competitiveness of this country. If you want to be America first, then you double down on innovation and entrepreneurialism. You double down on the future of our legacy automobile companies like GM and Ford. You don't let them off the hook so they can double down on stupid and try to pave over an old cow path by trying to recreate the 19th century.
Well, I get some rapid fire on that guy.
Sorry.
First thing, his health. How do you think it is right now, cognitive and physical?
So I'm not his doctor, though I did put out I don't know if you saw my doctor's exam. They said my bone density was like California redwoods.
Can we?
And it was.
Did they say it like that? Is that how they said it?
Well, it was signed by Dr. Doolittle, my doctor. Anyway, I highly recommend you review my MRI scan. I knew what was in there for it. My health records, quite extraordinary, actually. When you read them, I, of course, feel very healthy by contrast to Trump. But that said, look, I think I've been talking about this concern around a third term, which I think is not illegitimate. I completely believe that this notion of fair and free elections, that issue is the issue that will define the 2026 midterm in the context that question is on the line, whether or not there'll be fair and free elections going forward, even in 2026. And I made that point on election night with Prop 50. And there's all the signs and evidence, and I could stack 5 specific examples from the BORTAC teams to the private secret police that he's putting out there, the fact that he has quick response teams in all 50 states for the National Guard, the fact he's going after the integrity of vote by mail, the fact that he's got DOJ monitors out there, and the fact that he's rigging the elections as it relates to the strategy with the redistricting. All of those things point to me to the obvious about free and fair elections. So we have to take back the House. That is the number one essential need for all of us watching. Get Speaker Jeffries in a position to have some oversight. That said, I've softened to your question on this notion of a third Trump term because time of life and state of mind.
Not a lot of mind left.
No,
his not a lot of mind left.
His regime's going to be measured not in decades, but in years. And that's comforting. But that's why we have to be mindful of J.D. Vance, and we have to be mindful that they could try to rig that election for whoever he decides. Is it Vance Rubio, Rubio Vance? Is it his son? Is it, daughter? I mean, I'm serious. I mean, which member of the family? Is it Barron?
Got to keep the grift going.
How old's Barron? Is he 35 now?
They'll scale it up.
I don't want to attack Barron. I don't have any.
They don't care. Even though Barron's doing some insider trading right now.
Okay. Well, maybe I will. I don't know. I don't know enough.
2 more because I know you got to get out of here. Yeah. What was the last thing Trump said to you? Hats and crypto?
You want, the exact last words?
Yeah.
Use this number anytime.
Really?
So time was the word.
So he misses you.
So the word time. I have his cell phone. We can call him now if you want.
I think we should.
I actually think he'd literally. Actually,
you want to try?
Actually,
it alarms me
to think that almost certainly he would.
I'm
answer
fully
the
on
phone.
board if you want to pop out
Yeah,
the phone
no,
and give him a go.
I can't do that. My kids, by the way, tried to do that the other
Really?
day, and they weren't even kidding around. They were looking, you know what they were looking for? Mr. Beast number, which strangely I had. And they got so excited, and they're just like, "Who, do you have Trump's number?" I'm like, "Oh, God." And I literally found he's 9 years old. And he was literally pushing. I'm like, "Oh, God."
Please don't do this.
And he literally put.
Well, maybe Trump
There's
wants to
a
talk to
missed
you.
phone call to Trump from Dutch, my little guy. Yeah. Anyway, that's another conversation. Mr. Beast, I'm just saying, I saw Mr. Beast the other day on the stage, and it made me popular back home.
And you're gonna maybe do a challenge with him?
No, I don't.
Probably not?
I'm not worthy of that.
Stay away from him?
No, I wouldn't stay away. I'd love it, but no, I'm not worthy. I'm not at his level.
Not
I'm
yet.
at his level.
The YouTube game is picking up. But on that last question, where do you think things end with Trump and Epstein?
I said I was paying attention to all this, but not a lot of attention. And then when Elon Musk said he's in the files, I went, oh. And then all of a sudden, Pam Bondi's like, "What files?" And Trump goes, "Why are we even talking about this?" Like, whoa.
Quite frankly, it was a hoax, is what he said.
Right? Yeah, and I'm like, now I got to pay attention. Mm-hmm. So I don't know I just don't trust them.
Yeah.
Do you trust the DOJ?
No.
Not to say we've just initiated another 35 investigations, so now we have to redact all that information per the legislation that the Congress had just passed. Come on, you trust these guys for a damn second on this? I mean, this is a masterclass in effing something up, Trump. I mean, this is next level stuff. Like Oliver North is like, that's amazing. I like, oh, Jesus, I got, court-martialed for this or something. It's extraordinary. But again, he has an extraordinary capacity
to fuck up
and continue to be given that opportunity and privilege.
Yeah.
To fuck up, despite the fact that no one else possibly could survive any of this.
But that's why we're
going to
That's why we're going to be calling him out. I appreciate the time you gave me.
Good to be with you.
For us to both do that today.
Fun,
I appreciate you as always, Gov.
Thank you.
All right, I know y'all going to bounce. But if I could ask a quick favor, because the last time, we're not calling Trump, but the last time, and I swear if she doesn't pick up, my mother was a little upset that I called my dad when I was with you. If they don't pick up, this might be bad, but let's see. Ma, I wanted you to say hi to a good friend of mine.
Hey, Mom.
Oh my goodness.
He grilled me. He grilled me. I mean, Epstein, Hegseth, the whole thing. What you'd expect.
Oh my gosh.
He's got to run. He's got more important things to do. Not more important than talk to you, but just important.
You two are a very good-looking combination.
See, we wore the
dressed
same
up.
outfit.
It was because of last time. I think it's. But I just wanted to give you a shout and.
Nice to see you. Congrats on raising this guy and all that he's doing. How it continues to grow.
Thank you so much for supporting him.
And vice versa. I'm grateful.
We're so proud to know you and support you as well.
Thank you.
So thank you.
All right, that scored me some points. I appreciate it, brother.